The federal marshal's voice boomed across the salt-stained morning, a foghorn of finality as he recited Lysandra Blackthorne her rights. Her $2 million yacht was pinned between Coast Guard cutters while she shrieked about constitutional violations. Just 6 hours earlier, that same woman had stood on my dock waving forged documents from 1887 and demanding I surrender my entire island to her fabricated homeowners association. What she never suspected was that I wasn't just some civilian who'd bought an island for the solitude. I was precisely where the federal government needed me to be. My name is Decker Rothell, and 3 weeks ago, at 38, I became the owner of Beacon Rock Island, 3 miles off the Massachusetts coast. The story I gave the neighbors, inheritance, a lottery win, was a necessary fiction. The truth was far more deliberate. After 12 years in Coast Guard intelligence, specializing in maritime smuggling, my testimony had dismantled a cartel using New England's islands as waypoints. Putting 17 people away and seizing $43 million in assets earned me a choice through the Federal Witness Protection Asset Program. When I saw Beacon Rock on the list, something resonated. The island was 14 acres of rocky coastline and pine forest, featuring a modernized 4,200-square-foot lighthouse keeper's house and, most critically, a private airstrip for my Cessna Caravan. The prior, criminal owners had invested heavily. A deep-water dock for 60-foot vessels, a restored W2-era underground fuel depot, and a helicopter pad disguised for medical emergencies. The lighthouse, a 112-foot beauty from 1873, stood with its Fresnel lens intact. The keeper's house at its base gutted and rebuilt into an off-grid fortress with solar, wind, and desalination systems. The cartel had sunk $3 million into the upgrades. My first 2 days were spent exploring, hidden Prohibition-era bunkers, smuggler-carved trails, a boathouse with enough parts to rebuild a marina. On the 3rd morning, I was on the lighthouse gallery installing a weather station when I heard the unauthorized drone of a seaplane. No flight plan, no radio call. Through my binoculars, a cherry-red de Havilland beaver circled and landed between my dock and the mainland, its pontoons slicing white lines through the dark water. Behind it, a formation of boats approached, led by a 65-foot Sunseeker yacht flanked by 2 Boston whalers. The seaplane taxied to my dock like it owned the place. Out stepped a woman who looked like a corporate committee's vision of suburban authority. Lysandra Blackthorne, 5'8", in impractical heeled boots, a cream blazer over pressed khakis, her platinum hair pulled into a painfully tight bun. She was around 55, with surgical work fighting the number, moving with the unshakable confidence of someone whose no had never been final. Behind her, 5 people in matching navy blazers with an unfamiliar crest, a photographer with a lens longer than my forearm, and a man in a sheriff's uniform whose badge number didn't match our county. My training kicked in. This was orchestrated theater. Lysandra ignored me initially, directing the photographer on optimal angles for violations. When she finally acknowledged me, her smile was all teeth, no warmth. "You must be the new resident," she said, making resident sound like a contagion. "I'm Lysandra Blackthorne, president of the Coastal Estates Homeowners Association. We need to discuss your situation immediately." The word situation hung like a threat. Her entourage fanned out. The photographer snapped pictures of my dock, my boat, my plane. I set down my wrench, wiped my hands, and waited. She produced a leather folder, extracting pages like sacred texts. "According to the historic Maritime Charter of 1887, she began. Her voice rehearsed. "All islands within a 5-mile radius of the mainland fall under our jurisdiction. Legally transferred to our HOA in 2005. The document was a masterpiece of audacity, artificially aged paper, faux wax seals, period fonts. But my career was built on spotting forgeries. The language was too modern, the seals merely printed, and it referenced navigational markers from the 1920s. Based on this precedent, she continued, you owe $50,000 in back dues, plus a $5,000 monthly maritime maintenance fee. Furthermore, all dock, airstrip, and commercial use requires quarterly committee approval. The numbers were meant to shock, but the mention of commercial activities was the tell. Officially, there were none. It made me wonder what intelligence they thought they had. The fake sheriff avoided my gaze. We also require immediate access to inspect all structures for code and safety compliance. The previous owners left things in a questionable state. She paused, then delivered the real blow. Of course, if this is burdensome, the association is prepared to make a generous cash offer to purchase the island. We can close in 7 days. There it was. This wasn't about fees. It was a land grab through intimidation. I noted the yacht's Bahamian registration and watches on her board members worth more than most cars. These were predators. I'll need to review this with my attorney, I said calmly. I'm sure you understand that such sums require due diligence. I'll also need your corporate filings, tax records, and an allocation accounting for these maritime fees. I photographed everyone, including the fake badge. For my records. Her composure cracked, her smile tightening. Mr. Rothel, we're not asking. We're informing you of your obligations. We have resources that make resistance inadvisable. The threat was now naked. Are you threatening me, Mrs. Blackthorne? I asked loudly. Because that sounded like targeted harassment, which is illegal under state and federal law. I turned to the fake sheriff. Officer, your name and badge number? I'd like to file a complaint. The man floundered. Lysandra stepped between us. No need for dramatics. Deputy Morrison is here to ensure civility. You have 72 hours to pay and sign the compliance agreements. After that, fines accumulate at $500 daily per violation. She turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and that weather station? Unapproved by the Architectural Committee. That's a $1,000 fine, due immediately. She handed me a pre-printed violation notice, my name and address already filled in for today. They had come prepared to fabricate a paper trail. The group retreated with coordinated precision. As the yacht pulled away, Lysandra was on the phone, gesturing angrily. The seaplane circled twice more, the photographer leaning out the window. The message was clear. They were watching. That evening, I called Admiral Thorne Novak, my former CO. The weather station's attracting attention. Some interesting birds showed up today claiming the whole sky. Document the migration patterns, he responded. We're interested in their nesting habits. How aggressive. I described the encounter, the documents, the threats, the Bahamian registration. Sounds like non-local species, he said, understanding the scale. Keep your station running. We're monitoring. Next, I called Patricia Wong, a maritime property attorney. She laughed at the 1887 Maritime Charter. Creative, completely fraudulent. The 5-mile radius would encompass half the East Coast. Send me everything, my daughter Piper called, excited to spend the summer on the island. I didn't tell her about the visitors yet. That night, sleepless, I found a hidden compartment behind the lighthouse electrical panel. $20,000 in cash, 3 fake passports, a loaded Glock, and a notebook. It held dates, times, and boat registrations from the last 2 years. Lysandra's yacht was logged 17 times, always at night, always for 2 hours. She hadn't just known about the cartel, she was involved. The $50,000 demand was about forcing me out before I found evidence. The harassment campaign began at 6 a.m. sharp. Calls about illegal fuel storage, wetlands violations, dock impacts on fish, 6 different alleged violations from different HOA committees within 2 hours. The inspector who arrived wore a Home Depot vest and a laminated badge. I met him with my phone recording, Patricia on speaker. I'm represented by counsel. Provide your credentials, statutory authority, and a warrant. He fumbled. The HOA doesn't need a warrant. You agreed when you bought property here. Patricia's laughter was probably audible on the mainland. He retreated to his boat, making a heated call. The second wave came that afternoon. 3 boats circling just offshore, blasting music, their wakes battering my dock. People shouted, "Document the violator," and took pictures. It was psychological warfare, but every boat was being photographed by my weather station's high-resolution cameras, their registrations logged, patterns recorded. The equipment was military-grade surveillance disguised as atmospheric monitors, streaming live to federal servers. Reviewing footage, I noticed one boat had a sophisticated mounted camera system for underwater surveys, or checking underwater drug caches. Its registration led to a Delaware shell company connected to 3 other phantom boats. The notebook's dates matched Coast Guard reports of unusual activity. Boats would arrive, stay 2 hours, then disperse. Lysandra's yacht usually appeared before a cluster of visits. She was coordinating. I documented everything, creating a timeline showing the HOA as a front for a smuggling operation. My island was the centerpiece. Day 4 brought escalation. I woke to find comply or consequences spray-painted on my dock, my Cessna's tires slashed, sugar in the fuel tanks of both the plane and my boat. They wanted me to know they could reach me anywhere. But the weather station cameras caught 3 men. The fake sheriff, a known face from the smuggling days, and a new guy with a distinctive neck tattoo. I called Novak. The birds are getting aggressive, damaging the weather equipment. We're moving up the timeline. Can you maintain for 48 hours? I looked at the vandalism, thought of Piper's upcoming visit. I can do better. I can get them to show their whole hand. That afternoon, I loudly called contractors about security systems, wanting Lysandra to know I was digging in. Within an hour, a cease and desist letter arrived by boat, threatening legal action for unapproved improvements. Patricia found it hilarious. They're claiming authority over property they don't control based on documents that don't exist. Every fraudulent paper is another federal charge. But be careful, Decker. Desperate people do desperate things. Her warning proved prophetic. Day 5 at 5:30 a.m., the sound of heavy diesel engines. Through the lighthouse window, I saw 15 speedboats converging, led by Lysandra's yacht. Behind them, barges carried bulldozers and excavators. This was an invasion. I hit my emergency contact, recording everything. By 6 a.m., they were docking. 30 people in police and federal marshal vests jumped onto my pier, but their body language was wrong. Actors, not law enforcement. Lysandra emerged in tactical fashion, a megaphone squealing. Decker, Rothel! By the authority of the Coastal Estates Homeowners Association, we are removing illegal structures. The bulldozers were already unloading. One aiming for my dockhouse, another for the fuel depot. This was demolition. I stepped out, phone recording. Every person here is committing federal crimes. This is private property. Those uniforms are felony impersonation. That equipment is felony destruction. Reconsider now. A young cop backed away. Lysandra grabbed his arm. We have legal authority. Court orders are filed. She waved blank papers. The first bulldozer crushed my equipment shed, destroying $200,000 in gear. A second aimed for the lighthouse, revving its engine. 3 fake cops smashed runway lights while a bulldozer tore up my airstrip. They surrounded my Cessna. Lysandra walked over with a jerry can, splashing gasoline. Burn it! This illegal aircraft was used for smuggling! Destroy the evidence! The insanity of destroying evidence of a crime she was fabricating was lost on her, but several cops looked worried. Torching an aircraft was terrorism. A bulldozer smashed into the house, collapsing the kitchen wall, then the front entrance. My belongings were being systematically destroyed. Where are the basement files? Lysandra screamed. Find the records room. Burn everything! Fake cops ran inside, emerging with document boxes, piling them by the dock, dousing them in diesel. I activated the satellite emergency beacon, a Priority 1 distress signal for federal property under armed attack. Response would be minutes. You're destroying federal evidence, I shouted. Every burned paper is another felony. Lysandra, beyond reason, grabbed a flare gun and aimed at the fuel-soaked pile. There is no evidence. Only violations. The bulldozer hit the lighthouse again, shaking the tower, glass breaking above. Then I heard them, the thrum of MH-60 Jayhawk helicopters, multiple aircraft approaching fast. The lead helicopter rose from the east, sun haloing its rotors, a door gunner visible. 2 more converged from north and south. A C-130 Hercules banked for surveillance. Lysandra finally noticed when the first Jayhawk roared overhead at 200 feet, rotor wash sending papers flying, knocking people down. The loudspeaker boomed. This is the United States Coast Guard. All persons freeze! You are under arrest for attacking federal property. Anyone moving will be considered hostile. The fake cops dropped their weapons, kneeling, hands up. We're just actors. She paid us! We didn't know! Bulldozer drivers killed their engines, hands raised. But Lysandra stood over the documents, flare gun in hand, eyes wild. You can't do this! This is HOA business. I have court orders. She waved the papers. The lead helicopter hovered 50 feet up. 4 operators in tactical gear fast roped down, then 4 more until 24 MSRT personnel, the Coast Guard Special Forces, were on the ground. Drop the flare gun now, the team leader commanded. Lysandra spun, finger on the trigger. A sniper round from the helicopter disarmed her, the non-lethal shot sending the flare gun flying. She fell, clutching her hand, screaming about rights and bylaws. Operators cuffed her. The fake cops were processed assembly line style. Bulldozer drivers were pulled from their machines. On the water, cutters boxed in the yacht, smaller boats corralling the speedboats. The Bahamian registration would trigger an international probe. By 7:35, the island was secure. An FBI helicopter landed with evidence techs. They documented the damage, collected the partially burned documents. Every dollar of destruction was another year on Lysandra's sentence. They loaded her onto a Coast Guard boat, her designer tactical gear now accessorized with restraints. She was still screaming until she saw me. "You set me up? This was a trap!" "Who are you?" The team leader, Lieutenant Commander Mitchell, shook my hand. "Outstanding work, Agent Rothel. The bait worked perfectly. We've been trying to catch this ring for 3 years." "Agent?" Lysandra's voice cracked. "You're federal." The magnitude of her error sank in. She hadn't been stealing from a civilian. She'd attacked a federal agent on federal property under multi-agency surveillance. Admiral Novak landed in a Sikorsky dress uniform, making it clear this was national security. "Mr. Rothel, the United States Navy thanks you for protecting critical maritime infrastructure from domestic terrorists." The word terrorists electrified the prisoners. They finally understood their real legal problems. The FBI set up a command post in my ruined kitchen. Lead Agent Sarah Chen directed the investigation. "We've got enough for RICO charges. This is a multi-state conspiracy. Property theft, money laundering, drug trafficking." Lysandra's yacht's safe held documents detailing a campaign to acquire coastal properties through harassment. Beacon Rock was one of 17 targets, all waterfront, all stolen through fake HOAs, forged documents, and hired actors. Total value, over $40 million. Her phone revealed texts with Aldrich about cleaning Beacon Rock before the new owner finds the cash, with coordinates near the old fuel depot. Ground-penetrating radar found waterproof containers, $12 million in cash and 60 kilos of uncut heroin. Lysandra had known. She was the coastal coordinator for the trafficking organization, using her HOA to protect smuggling routes and storage sites. Her husband, Aldrich, was arrested at Logan Airport with suitcases of cash and encrypted drives detailing the entire operation. The network spanned multiple states, involving dozens who thought they were just intimidating homeowners for easy money. Cleanup took 3 days. Navy CBs rebuilt everything to military specs, reinforced lighthouse foundations, bulletproof glass, steel frame house, extended airstrip with instrument landing. My Cessna was replaced by insurance. The dock was rebuilt for 100-foot vessels with full security. The island was now a fortress. Lysandra pleaded guilty to 37 federal charges, including domestic terrorism, RICO, money laundering, and narcotics conspiracy. Sentence 45 years, no parole. Aldrich got 30 years plus asset forfeiture. Their house, boats, cars, and accounts were seized for victim restitution. The fake cops and drivers got probation after testifying. They'd been duped by a casting call for a reality TV show. 6 months later, I sat on my rebuilt dock at sunset. Piper was here for the summer, now knowing the full story, proud of her dad. She started a blog about lighthouse life that gained thousands of followers. The island became a tourist attraction. Boats stopped daily to see where the HOA invasion was stopped. I installed a museum in the lighthouse base with photos, fake documents, and the investigation timeline. Admission fees went to families victimized by HOA fraud. Admiral Novak visited monthly, using the island in training scenarios. The invasion footage was required viewing at the Coast Guard Academy. The weather station remained, now openly part of a network protecting the coast. The real victory was breaking the intimidation pattern. HOAs now knew harassment would be investigated, fake authority challenged. Families who'd been driven out got something back when Lysandra was arrested on live TV, proof that bullies can fall to truth and patience. Beacon Rock Island stands as testimony, its lighthouse beam a warning and a promise. The island crime tried to claim is now a symbol of justice, protected by real law, not fake authority. Lysandra works in a prison laundry, pressing uniforms for guards who use her inmate number. Her kingdom is a concrete courtyard. Justice doesn't always come quietly. Sometimes it fast ropes from helicopters onto a disputed island. And sometimes the quiet guy who moved there is exactly the trap needed to bring down an empire of lies.